It's a big privilege to be here tonight, and I thank Rabbi Alkabez and all the staff of Chazaq who set this up, especially Rabbi Sassoon. After hearing Rabbi Sassoon speak, who can say in their life that they have anything that bothers them? After somebody has gone through such an experience and accepted it with love, how can we complain about anything? It's a true inspiration for all of us. I want to speak tonight about Teshuva mi'ava. But before we speak about Teshuva mi'ava, which is something very, very great, the Gemara in Yuma, Daf Pei Vav Beis says, whoever does Teshuva mi'ava, Zdonos naslo kaschios, which means that the worst averas that you have become mitzvos. I'll just give you an example. The Gemara says that a person can go and do 8 averas at the same time. He can go out on Shabbos, eating chazer with milk, and in a Rosh Hashanah, he could do all the worst averas at the same time. And says the Gemara that if you do Teshuva mi'ava, not only does it get erased, but it becomes a mitzvah. How does that work? So in order to understand Teshuva mi'ava, first we have to understand what Av is. We all think we know what Av is. People say to each other they love each other, they love Ava. But I want to tell you a story that really helped me understand what Ava really is all about. I was on a plane traveling from Eretz Yisrael to America. And as happens to me many times, I become the banner for the Jewish religion. People come up to me and they think all their questions will be answered. So what happened, it was a non-Jewish couple. They were sitting next to me, and we struck up a conversation. They asked me if I'm rabbi. I said yes. So he said, Rabbi, the wife said, I just got back from Israel 2 weeks, and I have a very, very big question on the Jewish religion. Now, like, these type of questions always get me worried, because the rule on a plane is that people are bored. You know, and if the movie's not good, or they're not serving good food, so people look for like long conversations, and this happens to me once. One time someone spoke to me for 6 hours. I was sure he was going to convert after the flight, and I got an email from him, oh, it's not for me. So here I am, sitting next to this couple. They have a very piercing question about the Jewish religion, and I have to answer it. So I didn't feel I had a choice because they're sitting right next to me. So I said, go ahead, what's your question? So the lady said like this. She said, Rabbi, I was in Mea Sharim, and I noticed that some Hasidim wear black stockings, and some Hasidim wear white stockings. What's this all about? What's the difference between the black stockings and the white stockings? That was her question. So I breathed a sigh of relief. I was happy, like, this is the big question that's bothering her. And I told her like this. I said, you know, it's a good question. I wonder that myself often, what's the difference between that? But I want to tell you, I don't think that it's the main point of the Jewish religion. So I told her. And she accepted that. But then I was trying to figure out, like, what was really bothering this woman about the black stockings and the white stockings. I want to tell you, I think there's a very deep point here. And I think if we internalize this point, our Yom Kippur could be very different, and our lives could be very different. You know, when I was young, I used to play baseball, and we had different uniforms. You have this team, and you have that team. You know, you have the White Sox, and the Red Sox, and the Black Sox. You have all the Sox over there. And what does it mean somebody's on a different team? It means that you got to beat them. You know, the guys who are the White Sox and the Black Sox, the White Sox have to be or who's it here? The Yankees and the Red Sox, I don't know, the Mets, and I forgot, it's been so long. But you have to beat the other team. And that's by baseball, by football, basketball, yeah, okay. When it comes to war, you have uniforms in an army. Now, I live in Israel already 30 years. Last summer, a year ago, there were 5,000 missiles shot at Israel. It was a very difficult time for us, and they went in to Gaza fighting, and they pulled a very dastardly low trick. They got Israeli uniforms. The Palestinians got Israeli uniforms, and then they didn't know who was the enemy. But generally, different armies have different uniforms, and you try to kill the other side because they're the enemy. So think of it like this: Jews dress differently. There's some Jews who wear this type of kippah, some Jews who wear that type of kippah, right? Some wear a knitted one, some wear a velvet one. You know, I have a kippah here, I'll show you. It has like a ribbon around it. So in Israel, they have two types of kippahs, with a ribbon, without a ribbon. And someone told me, like, if you're wearing the wrong type of kippah, then it's a big problem, right? Because you don't, with a ribbon, without a ribbon. Somebody told me, I won't walk on the street with you if you're wearing the wrong type of kippah. That's how far it goes. And there's a big problem here, because the moment that we start dividing people up by their clothes, by their Eidah, Sephardim, Ashkenazim, or this type of kippah, or that type of kippah, or this type of head covering, that type of head covering, we're already making it splits in the Jewish people. They're two different groups. Now, the pasuk in the Torah says, "V'ahavta l'reicha kamocha." You should love your neighbor like yourself. What does it mean, kamocha? Why does it just say love people? What's kamocha? So I think the pshat in the pasuk is like this. It says, "Kamocha," you love yourself. Everybody loves yourself. I'm sure everyone here had breakfast, lunch, maybe dinner. I don't know if they're serving something here afterwards. But people take care of themselves. They go to sleep every night. They take care of themselves. Why? Because it's you. The Torah is telling us a very deep idea here. You should love every Jew because they are you. Because they're part of you. We're one body. We're one entity. We're one neshama. The Zohar says, Torah, Araisa, V'Kutshabricha, V'Yisrael Chadu. We're all one. Everybody here, we're all part of one entity. And all the Jews in Kew Gardens Hills, in New York, and America, and the world, we're all one mishpacha. One of my Talmidim wears a different kippah than me. He told me a very interesting point. He said, when the Arabs shoot missiles at us, they don't check first to see what hashkafa they have, or what kippahs they wear, or are they religious, not religious. They just fire missiles. Why? Because we're all Jewish. Right? And that's the correct outlook we're supposed to have. We're all part of one family. Right? When we start dividing people up, they're the white socks and the black socks, and the stockings and no stockings, then we've already created a division in Klal Yisrael. We've created a division, and that's the opposite of Ahava. The gematria of Ahava is Echad, is 13, the same as Echad. Right? When something is part of you, you love it. You just take some children, or grandchildren, or close friends. We love them because they're part of us. The Gemara says, "Bra kared avua." A son is like the legs of a father, and therefore he loves his son. Parents wake up 2, 3 in the morning when their kids are crying because it's part of them. They love them. You love what's you. The moment we start dividing Jews up because of the way they dress, because of the way they talk, because of this, because of that, but they're minhagim, then that's already not Av anymore. That's already not part of us. And that makes division in Klal Yisrael, and there's no more Av anymore. And this is a very, very critical issue that we face today. The Gemara says that why don't we have a base of Mikdash? I want to show you here that Rabbi Sassoon and I, we actually, during the summer, during the 9 days, we spoke all across Eretz Yisrael. We spoke to about 10,000 people. And we made up these cards. Here, I'll show you this card. I only have 20 left. And I don't want to cause a stampede afterwards, but I'm going to offer those 20 to some people who want them. And we wrote like this: the base of Mikdash was destroyed because of Sinas Chinam. It's a Gemara, right? And we asked, everybody should say, I accept upon myself to cleanse my heart of Sinas Chinam. And every day we have a different picture of one of the 7 Sassoon children. The first day is Elian, and then Rivka, and then David, and then Yeshua, and then Moshe, and then Sarah, and then Yaakov. Right? To cleanse your heart of Sinas Chinam, because of Sinas Chinam we don't have a base of Mikdash. Now people think Sinas Chinam means that when you see somebody, you spit in their face. It's not true. Sinas Chinam is if you feel that they're white socks and they're black socks. There's me and them. There's this kippah and that kippah. There's the snoods and the shaitels and the tichels, whatever people are wearing. That's already Sinas Chinam. Yeah? And it goes very, very deep. We have to get rid of that midah. We have to get rid of that feeling. And then we'll be zocheh that the Geula should come. So now I'm sure some people are thinking here, I can't relate to these people who wear stockings. It's just not me. I don't wear stockings. How can we relate to these people? We think about it, we're so similar. All Jews are so similar. Right? We all keep 613 mitzvos. We all give stucco when we can, and try to educate our children, and do whatever we can to daven 3 times a day. We're so similar. Right? And it's not so hard to realize that these people are our brothers and sisters. My first day back in New York, I've been living in Eretz Yisrael for 30 years. It's an interesting story. I was here in New York in public school, and Rabbi Meir Kahana came, and he came to speak in the school, and he said, everybody here should leave and go to Israel. And I listened. That was 30 years ago. He should go learn a yeshiva. And I've been in Eretz Yisrael many years. I came back the first time, it was 12 years ago, and it was a New York City blackout. My first day back in New York City, and it's a New York City blackout, and where was I? Where's the worst possible place you could be in the New York City blackout? Anyone, any ideas? On the subway. That's where I was, right? On the subway. So, I'm on the subway, and I'm standing there, and I have my hat jacket, and it was the hottest day of the year, and of course the air conditioner is not working, and I was like, really, this is like really a terrible welcome back to New York. And I was learning the Parsha, and suddenly I saw it said, it was Parsha's Akev. It said, what is going to happen? You're going to have to think, Kochi va'otzim yadi. And that was like my first feeling back in New York. Wow, like all these buildings, there's so much show of power here. It's like God doesn't exist here in New York City. Like they threw him out. He was illegal. Parking, double parked. So what happened? I read the pasuk, and the pasuk said, and Hashem will show you that He does. And that's exactly what happened. I realized He turned off the whole New York City. Hashem showed me that this was what was really going on. And then I was so happy about it, that I had seen this tremendous revelation of Hashem in the New York City subway, like Kilu, Hashem could get down there. And at that moment, a non-Jew came up to me and he said, why are you the only one on this train who's not upset? I said, and then he answered me, he said, God is protecting you. That's what he told me. Anyway, that was a very enlightening experience. But there was another Jew on the train, and he was wearing a kippah not like mine, and he was a nationality not like mine, and minhagim not like mine, and we immediately were best friends. Because two Jews, when especially in a time of crisis, then we have everything in common. We have to realize that. Now, I want to tell you something that it's been a hard year for me. A lot of things happened this year. I live in Har Nof, and I actually live right next door to everybody who was killed. In fact, Rabbi Levine, who was killed, was a student in my yeshiva for 4 years. And it's an amazing thing. I saw him daven the day before he was killed. I was the Shliach Tzibur, was sitting over there, and I thought, this is like Yom Kippur davening. He was an amazing person. They were all amazing people. And it was a great, great loss to Kollel Yisrael, what happened. I used to daven at that minyan every day. I recently started going to another one, so I was saved, like many people were. But when that took place, when that incident took place, all of us in Har Nof, we were devastated. I mean, these are tzaddikim, these are unusual people, these are tzaddikim, and these were our friends and neighbors, and they were gone. And it was very, very hard for us. So what happened, there were people all across the world and all across the country coming to comfort us. And there was two events I want to tell you about, because they really bring out this point that we're going to say. Ava is the feeling that it's you. Kamocha means that you feel like it's you. When somebody's suffering, then you should try to feel it's your pain. So we had, the second day after it happened, we had some teenage girls come to us with some cake wrapped up, and it was the ashkachos that we eat. And they had the following note, and I want to share with you because it was so moving to us. The note said like this: we are going through some difficult days. We are dealing with a reality that is not simple and scary. We, the students of Evan Shmuel High School in Hebron, feel a part of you at this difficult time. We came to tell you, you're not alone in the face of terrorism in Israel. We stand with Yerushalayim. What were they saying? We're a part of you. What does that mean? That's kamocha, right? When another Jew is part of you, then you love them, because it's you. You love yourself. And when you feel all Jews are part of you, when you feel all Jews are your brothers and sisters, then you love them because of that. The next day we had another similar experience. Some boys from Itamar, which was the place where this Fogel family was killed in a massacre in 2011, they came to us again with cake with the following note: to our dear brothers and sisters, the residents of Har Nof, the Jewish people are one body and one soul. The pain is nationwide. All of Israel is deeply in pain. In the midst of our most difficult time, many Jews stood by our side, and now we are at your side. And that was it, right? They felt they were one with our pain, and then we didn't feel the pain anymore. Yeah? My wife is a shadchan. She said we have to put those boys and girls together from Itamar and Hebron, make some shidduchim, yeah? Because they both have this beautiful midah of empathizing with other people's pain. And if we think about it, all of us feel the same way. My Rebbe, or Shlomo Rebbe, said, almost every tragedy, if you think about it, it brings the Jewish people together. He spoke by the murder of this boy, Leib Pletsky. He said, why did this happen? And why do all these tragedies happen? All the tragedies bring us together. Hashem is telling us, don't let a tragedy happen. Right? You don't need the Sassoon, the 7 Sassoon children to die, to die and have tens of thousands of Jews coming together, or the Har Nof massacre, or anything for that matter. We could be together without the tragedy. That's what Hashem is telling us. That's what I'm close to all the Gedolim in Eretz Yisrael, and they all said the same thing. You have togetherness without the tragedy, and that's the goal. The goal is to be together, to be one nation, to be one people, to feel, to love other people. And this is what love is all about. I want to tell you a beautiful idea here from the Maharal. The Maharal says on the Gemara of Kamsa Bar Kamsa, where we know that Jerusalem was destroyed because of the story of Kamsa Bar Kamsa, that someone had a friend named Kamsa, an enemy named Bar Kamsa. So, ask the Maharal, I understand why it was destroyed because of the enemy, but what about the friends? Why was Yerushalayim destroyed because of the friend? He says, because you're not supposed to have friends and enemies. Whoever has friends and enemies, then that's not the Jewish people. Yeah, as one taxi driver pointed out to me, he said you have chaver and yadid. He said a chaver is someone you're connected to. Chaver is a chibur. You're connected to them. A yadid is like yad. You hold hands with that person. You're very, very close to them. And that's what it should be. There's no such thing as friends and enemies. There's chaver and there's yadid. And that's what the Jewish people should really look like. And that's ava. Now we understand what ava is. So what's tshuva mi-ava then? If ava means that you're one, the Jewish people are all one, we're all one together. So what's tshuva mi-ava? So I'm going to finish with this point I want to share with you. The Gemara there that talks about tshuva mi-ava, it was said by Reish Lakish. Now Reish Lakish was one of the Amoraim in the Gemara. And Reish Lakish is a very interesting name. Reish Lakish literally means the head of the mafia. Lakish is a robber, and Reish Lakish is the head of the robbers. Yeah? And it's a famous story, the Gemara Bava Metzia, Daf Pei Daled. Reish Lakish was the head of the thieves, and he was bathing in a river. He met Rav Yochanan, and Rav Yochanan said, you should use your strength for Torah. So Reish Lakish said, you should use your beauty for women. And Reish Lakish and Rav Yochanan said, if you do tshuva, you can marry my sister. And that's what happened. He married Rav Yochanan's sister, and he became a Baal Tshuva, and he came back. So, I want to say like this. If I became a Rosh Hashiva, and my name was Reish Lakish, head of the mafia, that's what it literally means, I would have changed my name. Right? Reish Lakish is not a good name for somebody who's a Rosh Hashiva. Right? You sign your papers, the head of the mafia. It just doesn't look good. Agav, the head of the mafia once met Rav Aaron Kotler. He met Rav Aaron Kotler, and he asked Rav Aaron Kotler for a bracha. What do you think he gave him? Which bracha do you think he gave him? He said, he gave him a bracha that he should die in bed. He shouldn't be shot by somebody. And he said, that's the best bracha I ever got in my life. And it really happened. He died in bed, and then his son called in Rav Aaron to give him the same bracha later on. Okay, so that's the head of the mafia. Reish Lakish was the head of the mafia. Yeah, and he became a Rosh Hashiva, and he kept the name, the head of the mafia. What do they call these guys? Godfathers, right? He was the godfather, right? He was the head of the mafia. So what happened here? Why did he keep his name? So I think we can understand like this. When a person is very far away, like the head of the mafia, and he comes back, he does tshuva. So the affairs that he once did, they testify how far you've come. Now, we all think it's the day before Yom Kippur, right? Last year, where were we last year at the same time? There's a very, very important point, which I speak about in my book, and don't think you're going to get away without hearing about my books. But there's a very, very important point in Shuvah, is that you have to make a Kabbalah, a small Kabbalah for next year, and to be a different person. And it should affect your year. And the most important, the biggest sign that the Kabbalah worked is next year, this day, Erev Yom Kippur, you still remember it. If you made a Kabbalah last year, you still remember what it is, and you're still doing it, then that's a good sign. If a person can see themselves as different from this year to last year, that shows that their Kabbalah worked. Right? The amount that you strayed far away from Hashem and you came back, so that shows how far you've come. And that's a light. The darkness shows the light. The fact that Reish Lakish used to be the head of the mafia, and now he's one of the biggest of the Amoraim, that showed how close, how much love he has for Hashem. And that's coming back. That's Ava. That's Echad. He came back to Hashem, and it was on the outside, and he came back on the inside. Tshuva mi-Ava shows that all the actions that I had before, they're all outside, as Rabbi Sassoon said. They're not part of me. I'm not connected to them. They're all outside of me. They're not me. That's real tshuva mi'ava. When a person does tshuva mi'ava, his averas become mitzvahs, because those averas show how far you've come. And everybody here, I'm sure they've come very far. We could come even farther. And that's the goal. That's the goal of Tafshin Ayin Vav, the coming year. We should go farther and farther and farther. And I have to tell you, the Gemara says, and this is something I heard from Rav Chaim Kanevsky, all the Gedolim in Eretz Yisrael are saying it now, the Gemara in Megillah, the beginning of the second parak of Megillah says, the most opportune time for Mashiach to come is Motzi Shemitah, which was 9 days ago. 9 days ago was the end of Shemitah. This is the time the Gemara asks, why is the seventh bracha of Shmon Esrei Ga'al Yisrael? Because it says the Geula will come after the 7th year. That's now. We're holding it at a time, Rav Chaim Kanievsky, when there was the Har Nof massacre, he said Mashiach is in the doorway. We just have to ask him to come in. How do we ask him to come in? By getting rid of sinas chinam. By not looking at other Jews because of the kippah they wear, or because of this, or because of that, or the religious observance, or what heksherim they eat, or what heksherim they don't eat. Yeah. That is not going to bring Mashiach. What's going to bring Mashiach is feeling that every single Jew is our brother and sister and our son. I'll tell you a beautiful story from Rav Shimshon Pincus. He became famous here in America when he passed away. He was watching a boy. There was a boy on a donkey, yeah, and the boy just had a pair of shorts on, a Jewish boy. He had no shirts, just shorts and no shoes. And somebody made a joke. He said, "There's a chamor al gabi chamor. There's a donkey riding on a donkey. Yeah, it's a chamor al gabi chamor." So Shimshon Pincus, he banged his hand down. He said, "Don't talk about my son like that." Yeah, if you feel that every Jew is your son, then you'll love every Jew. I once asked Rav Noach Weinberg, the king of Kirov, I said, how do you do it? He was makar hundreds of thousands of Jews. He said, I look at every boy with long hair and earrings as the next gadol ador. And I know some of them. I can tell you it's true. Yeah, we have to change our attitude. For Tafshin Ayin Vav, we have to look at every single Jew as our brother, as our sister, as our child, and then Mashiach will come. If every single Jew would do this today, then before Yom Kippur, Mashiach would be here. But we haven't done it yet, and that's what it says. We don't have a Beis HaMikdash because we have sinas chinam. And the Gemara says because it's a hidden Aveira, so the end is hidden. And what does it mean it's hidden Aveira? It says Yoveonis and Eibshnik explains that we don't even know it's there. We think we're upset with people, we have a good reason, yeah, we have a good reason, they upset me, they did something stupid. It doesn't matter. Sinas chinam means even if there's no reason for it, you can't have it. You have to get rid of sin. I want to leave you off with one more point here. Actually, one story or one more point, and we'll finish off with that. Right. There's a certain Rav in Eretz Yisrael. He wrote the screenplay for the worst movie ever. Now, I can't really say that because it's so long since I've been in America. I don't know what's happening with the movies. But at my time, it was the worst movie ever. And he came to Eretz Yisrael. He became a Baal Tshuva, and now he's a very chashuv Rav today. So they want to know, can he be daven for Yom Kippur? Can he be the shliach tzira for Yom Kippur? So they asked one of the Gedolim Eretz Yisrael. He said, he should be the one, because he came so far. The farther you've come, the more light you bring, the more ahava you show, and the more close you are to Hashem. The Maharal says that's why a ger is so close to Hashem, so chaviv to Hashem, so desired to Hashem, because he came so far. And we all have to think how far we've come and how much closer we could be to Hashem. I just want to finish off with one point. You know, the Rambam says during these days, the custom is to do as many mitzvahs as we can. To do a lot of mitzvahs. Because, you know, he says, Hashem is making a calculation, who's going to live and who's going to die. And he weighs up all the mitzvahs we did and we didn't do. And he wants to see who's really going to be zochet to life for next year. So he says, we do a lot of mitzvahs, we try to tilt the scale. So I want to share with you, I'm going to share with you the way that you could get 300 trillion mitzvahs. 300 trillion, sounds like a lot, no? Someone told me once, 300 trillion, if you would take pennies from this shul in Kew Gardens Hills, and you would pile them up to the moon and back, it wouldn't be 300 trillion. That's how many mitzvahs is. So how do you get 300 trillion mitzvahs? And it won't cost you 1 cent. Yeah? The answer is like this. The Chavetz Chaim says that when you love another Jew, every second you love that Jew, you get a mitzvah. You make a calculation, right? There's 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour, 24 hours in a day. You multiply it by a whole year, you come up with 30 million. 30 million, yeah? There's about 10 million Jews. Somebody says the Saba Mikel, one of the great Rosh Hashivas of Musar, whoever accepts upon himself now at this moment to love every other Jew, not to look at their kippah or their hat or no hat or whatever, their dress, this, that, their snood, no snood. Whoever accepts upon themselves sincerely now at this year to love every single Jew will get 300 trillion mitzvos for the next year, and that's almost for sure that they'll have a psak in the Tov. That's something really worthwhile to do. That's one thing I'm asking you to do. And the other thing I'm asking you to do is think about people you don't get along with, if there's such people. Call them up tonight, Erev Yom Kippur. You know, I learn every week with Rabbi Yaakov. I write an article that comes down the Yated, we publish, and if you look at last week's Yated, Yaakov Hill made a very important point. He said, you only lose by being upset with people, because if you're upset with someone, then they get punished because of you, and you get punished because you punish them. So it's the biggest loss you could possibly have. He said, be mochel them, even if you don't feel in your heart, you could totally forgive them. They might have done terrible things to you, but mochel them and call them up, ask them forgiveness, forget about it, because this is right now what is holding up the Gula from coming. If we right now could complete mechila, everybody we're upset with, call them up and forgive them, then Mashiach will be here. I want to thank everyone for coming tonight, and wish everyone a ksiva v'chasima tova. I'm just going to finish. I'm going to tell you about these 4 seforim that I have. And first of all, this book about Rabbi Sassoon that we put together, about the family, if you read this book, it will change your life. You hear about these kids and how they were taking a korban, and what miracles that Hashem did, and how much worse things than happened, and the response, one woman, you know, she had a very, very long sheitel, much longer than was generally considered acceptable. She cut it 7 inches, one for each of the kids. And I said this over my shir. Next week the woman came in with a short sheitel. She cut her sheitel 7 inches. Yeah, all the kabbalas that people made. Because when Hashem does something like this, He's not doing it for the Sassoon family. He's doing it for all Kollel Yisrael. Same thing with the Har Nof massacre. I have this book about the Har Nof massacre. It's the same thing. Hashem did this for Kollel Yisrael. And my Rebbe, Rav Moshe Sternbach, the head of the Badatz in Yerushalayim, he said, if we don't take what was meant to be taken, then we missed it. We missed. Hashem was speaking to us. 2 more books I'm going to tell you about. This book, Days of Majesty, is about the Yom Neroim. And this book, Praying with Joy 3, I promise you, it will completely change your Yom Kippur. How to make the Vidui something happy. And you'll enjoy it, and you'll find it the most satisfactory thing in your entire life. There's so much depth in the words of Chazal. There's so much depth in the tefillahs they gave us. And if we access it, we tap into it, it's a gold mine. Right? So I have those books, they're downstairs, and I have 20 of these cards left. I'm sure that everybody wants one. I'm sorry, we printed 7,000, and we only have 20 left. Of course, if anybody is interested in reprinting them, then these will help bring the Gula. The Kollel all told us that people clean the heart of Sinas Chinam will help bring the Gula. Whoever buys I guess all 4 books, I have to give them a card. And, because that way I'll sell a lot of books also. And by the way, my mother's here, so I want to express my thanks to her. And she's very happy when people buy books because they're in her house. So it helps clean things up. So again, I wish everyone a ksiva v'chasima tova, and please take to heart what I said. 2 things I'm telling you. Number 1, b'havta reicha kamocha. You have to love Jews like they're you, like your children, like your brothers and your sisters, and treat them that way. And don't look at any other Jew by the way they dress. Yeah? It's fine to dress differently, but don't judge them by that, number 1. And number 2, forgive everybody. Get rid of every iota of sinas chinam in your heart. Makabel now to love every Jew, and you'll have 300 children.